ICE agents rejoice as Senate Republicans vote to fund them with $70 billion. Or at least I think they rejoiced. Hard to tell with those masks covering their entire face. This is just another day. For all those people out there who claim that we've got a do-nothing Congress in Washington, as of this morning, joke's on you.
The U.S. Senate passed legislation this morning to fund immigration enforcement agencies. The vote comes after multiple attempts over the past few weeks to tie ICE funding to blocking Trump's anti-weaponization fund. Senators voted for the $70 billion to fund ICE and Border Patrol for the next 3 years through the end of Trump's term. The final vote came after Republicans were able to narrowly defeat multiple attempts to add language to the bill that would permanently ban Trump's settlement fund to compensate political allies who believe they've been persecuted by the government.
Wow, funding for ICE and leaving the door open for Trump to make good on his slush fund for insurrectionists. GOP must have their own version of that Kama Sutra book because they keep coming up with new ways to fuck over the American people. Yes, after Republicans led a months-long government shutdown that deprived TSA agents of their salaries and made air travel for Americans more painful than Kash Patel hearing the words "last call," the GOP finally achieved the win they were hoping for through a reconciliation vote in the Senate. But like everyone's recent air travel experience, getting there wasn't easy.
Significant that Senate Republicans were able to get this over the finish line. It was a 52-47 vote after about an 18-hour debate called the Vote-A-Rama on the Senate floor.
Hey, Vote-A-Rama! What cool, hip branding for such a boring, bureaucratic process that leaves us with more horrible things. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Republicans are really holding out on us. I mean, sure, it sounds bad when you hear ICE agents murdered Alex Preddy and Renee Good, but when you start calling it Homicide-a-Palooza, actually, it's still pretty fucking horrific. Now, not only is this $70 billion check for ICE and CBP just another sign of how little the Republican Party cares about holding any federal agency to account under Trump, it's happening at a time when ICE facilities are showing they're not exactly using our money wisely.
We were talking about the Delaney Hall Detention Center, which is owned by the GEO Group, and this is a facility that holds 700 immigrants in Newark, New Jersey. And the lawmakers who have been inside say that they have heard directly from detainees talking about inadequate amount of food, as well as not enough medical care, medication, and a lack of access to attorneys. There have been reports that the food sometimes has worms in it.
Whoa, easy there. Keep talking about food with worms in it, and RFK is going to start salivating. Uh-oh, did someone just mention my favorite pizza topping? Well, I would love to know how the government responds to reports of these substandard living conditions.
In response, Department of Homeland Security posted on social media, everyone being held inside Delaney Hall broke the law. This is a detention center. We do not provide luxury accommodations.
Shit, they have a point. You know, those people broke the law, and that's the way it goes. Unless, of course, you are the founder of Nikola and donate almost $2 million to Trump's re-election campaign. Or if you're a venture capitalist who donates over $1 million to Trump and the GOP. Or if you're a tax cheat whose mother attends a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. See, the big mistake the folks at Delaney Hall made wasn't in breaking the law. It was not knowing which side their worm-infested bread was buttered on. Now, one of the names mentioned in all of these reports on Delaney Hall is the GEO Group, the private contractor and owner of the New Jersey facility, who it turns out has a pretty interesting history.
Enter GEO Group. Originally called Whack and Hut Corrections, it was a spin-off of a private security firm. By 2003, they rebranded as GEO Group.
Ha! I'm sorry, a correction facility didn't realize that they had to immediately correct their name from Whack and Hut? How many instances of confusion did they have to endure before someone came up with that revelation? Gee, Bob, I just don't get it. Our facility is clearly meant to house folks awaiting trial, but day after day we've got men showing up thinking Whack-and Hut is some sort of relaxing place to jerk off. And even after we told them what we do, this guy just stood outside and jerked off even harder. So the more aptly named GEO Group are the folks behind Delaney Hall's horrific conditions. Well, thank God those folks aren't in charge of any other facilities around the country.
Advocates gathered around Washington's governor and attorney general to announce the latest legal action to get inside the ICE detention facility in Tacoma. State leaders say the Department of Health has received more than 3,500 complaints from detainees. alleging contaminated food with raw meat and worms, denied care like medications, and unsanitary living conditions.
Immigrants' rights groups say detainees at the Aurora ICE Detention Center are going hungry and untreated. The facility is operated by private prison company GEO Group.
Dozens of immigrants locked up at a massive detention center in California say that for months they've been unable to get the medical care that they need.
What a surprise! These abhorrent conditions are not a one-off, they are the norm at every GEO Group-led facility in America. And as a reminder, the men and women being held inside these facilities, they have not been found guilty of anything yet. They're all anxiously awaiting a trial, the same way Lauren Boebert anxiously awaits the dimming of the lights inside a Broadway theater. Or, as she refers to that room, her 800-seat Whackin' Hut. So what does the GEO Group say when asked about these heinous conditions at their own facilities?
The GEO Group has argued in court that federal oversight governs the facility, not state law, and that inspections should be handled through ICE.
Got it. Well, hopefully there's someone inside ICE who will finally bring the hammer down on all these GEO Group facilities.
A familiar name is stepping in to lead ICE. Longtime official David Venturella is set to become the agency's interim director on June 1st. Replacing Todd Lyons, who is stepping down at the end of the month. Venturella has served under both Republican and Democratic presidents and most recently worked for the GEO Group.
Wow. Just goes to show that if you keep your head down and work incredibly hard at being a monster, you too can get promoted in Trump's America. You know, I just wish there was some kind of other agency that could help us in this extremely troubling scenario. Like, I don't know, some sort of law branch of the federal government, maybe a department specifically focused on justice?
You see what's happening on TV in New Jersey, you saw it in Minnesota. That's not who we are.
Whoa, I'm honestly speechless. I mean, I've had a lot of preconceived notions about Todd Blanche, but to break rank with the administration and openly criticize the brutality we've seen inflicted by ICE officers onto protesters exercising their constitutional right is pretty startling.
Those are not peaceful protests. Those are not marching like you expect Americans to do when they have a problem or they disagree with the policy of the government.
Holy shit, he means the protesters are not who we are. Yeah, I suppose if it was more of a peaceful protest, then that kind of expression of passionate disagreement with the policies of our government would be met with a much more respectful response.
Millions of Americans took to the streets to protest the current administration and its policies. This was President Trump's response. The AI-generated video features President Trump in a crown, flying a fighter jet emblazoned with King Trump on its side. The president then appears to dump raw sewage on protesters.
Exactly. The reality is, Todd Blanche isn't who we are, but it sure as hell is who they are. They are a party that condones the abuse and mistreatment of detainees. They are a party that cuts funding from healthcare, food assistance, and cancer research while simultaneously handing over endless sums of money to Donald Trump's personal paramilitary force. They are the party that proudly enables this president to loot the treasury for his own personal gain. That's who they are. But who we are millions of Americans who will not tolerate being lied to, being gaslit, and having our rights trampled on by the most corrupt administration in our nation's history. If Republicans think we are just going to sit back and do nothing while they shred our Constitution and upend our democracy, well, then they are cordially invited to go fuck themselves. And if they're looking for suggestions, I've got the perfect place where they can do it. Before you go, I'm very excited to announce that I've written a new book titled The Day After: How to Wield Power in a Post-Trump World. The book explores what is, in my opinion, the single most important theme that we're dealing with in politics today and moving forward: power. Specifically, how Republicans abuse it and how Democrats refuse to wield it. This book explains how we got here and, more importantly, how we should finally wield power if we're fortunate enough to get it back. It is the blueprint for progressives who want to do far more than just restore the status quo. Please pre-order today by visiting the link in the episode description or go to briantylercohen.com/book. You can grab yours from any of the major retailers like Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or find an independent bookstore closest to you that's also listed on that website. Thanks so much for supporting independent media.